Hello, everyone. This is Howard Fox, and welcome back for another episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series, the podcast that celebrates individuals and families, businesses, and organizations that seek out and promote the exploration, stewardship, conservation, access, and enjoyment of the outdoors. Sacha Sanguinetti is our guest today. Sacha is the event coordinator for the Birch Bay Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Information Center. And I am truly excited to have Sacha on the podcast because I'm like incredibly envious of that beautiful body of water in that small little town up in the Pacific Northwest. So, Sacha, it's great to have you today.
Thank you very much, Howard. It's great to be here.
Fantastic. Now, I would imagine folks coming into Birch Bay, and I'm going to ask you to be more specific in a minute of where it's located, but I would imagine it's hard to leave.
Yeah, it is. It is. I came here on a whim about 5 years ago, and here I sit. It's a very peaceful, little quiet community for about 8 or 9 months out of the year, and then we ramp it up in the summertime.
Okay, I think I can deal with that as
Yeah.
long as I've got a nice beach to sit on, a cup of coffee in my hand, and watch the sunset or sunrise, or depending on what direction. I think I could get used to that.
The sunsets are really what sets Birch Bay apart. That's really kind of our hallmark feature, if you will. Not to mention the shallow waters of the bay, which we can get more into later, but
Sure.
that creates lots of recreational opportunities.
Okay. Now, for our listeners, where is Birch Bay located? I said Pacific Northwest, but it's pretty special.
Yeah, we're extreme Pacific Northwest. We are literally about 7 miles south of the US-Canadian border. So there's a little border town just north of us called Blaine, and a bay there, and we're the bay just south of that.
Okay. So I would imagine, well, up until recently, you probably have a lot of visitors going back and forth across the border.
We do, and we still do, despite some of the uncertainty that's surrounding everything right now. Yeah, there are Canadians that are choosing to stay in Canada, but there's also a lot of Canadians that are northern neighbors that are being a little opportunistic, Howard, that have said, "Hey, we work Monday through Friday in Vancouver. We didn't feel like the 2 to 3 hour wait times at the border. Now the wait times aren't quite as long, so they're coming across and taking the
I love it.
opportunity." Birch Bay's always been an area for fun, and we've found that while people will come across the border to do business in Bellingham and Blaine, which are the two cities that sandwich us, they do business there. They come to Birch Bay for fun,
Okay.
and I think you've probably learned over the years, just like I have, that one of the things that people aren't willing to sacrifice much on is having a good time. So we're still
Sure.
going to have some sneaking over, I think,
Okay.
despite the tensions. Yeah.
Okay. Now, as an event coordinator for the Birch Bay Chamber of Commerce, and you actually have the overlap, which I often see, which is actually the reason why I thought it was a natural extension of our podcast series with the destinations, is you actually, I called it out, Birch Bay Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Information Center. So you're playing both roles here. Uh, as an event coordinator for the chamber and the information center, what's a day in the life of someone like yourself? And I know you have a small staff, but what are you guys doing to just provide the service to not only to the community, but also to the visitors who are coming into Birch Bay?
Yeah, we are a visitor center first. That's really what allows us to be a chamber of commerce. That's kind of how our funding structure is set up. So a day in the life, our first and foremost priority is making sure that the visitors that walk through our front door are taken care of. We've always prided ourselves on being a warm and welcoming community. So when that happens, despite having paperwork on the desk and whatever, we'll drop everything to make sure that a visitor is taken care of, and we'll make sure that we take as much time to do that. Birch Bay is interesting because we send people out a lot. We have people that'll stay here, but really within an hour to 90 minutes of us, we have immense opportunities. We're such a playground. And from being basically an hour and a half from the top of Mount Baker,
Mhm.
and the world-class ski resort that they have up there, right down here to the bay. There's all sorts of opportunities in between. So when a visitor walks through our door, a lot of times they're looking for stuff to do in Birch Bay, but they're also looking for stuff to do in the region and the surrounding area as well. One of the things that we've learned is we're very well stocked with printed materials.
Mm.
Which is becoming more and more of a rarity these days, is and people cutting costs, so forth and so on. But we really try to keep our printed materials stocked very well because when people are on vacation, I know you're the same, Howard, I'm the same. We do it to get away from the phone. We do it
Right.
to get away from having to scan the QR codes and do all that. And we found that our visitors really like to have those printed materials in their hands, old school, so to speak. We also get a lot of people that are year-round RVers that live out of their campers. So we have lots of materials. People will come in and say, "Why the heck do you have a map of Iowa here?" Well, that's because people will get out and we're just a stopping point on their journey. So
Okay.
we also have chamber duties that we throw into the mix. We have a pretty robust membership. And so we advocate on behalf of our members in Birch Bay. We're an interesting scenario here because Birch Bay is not an incorporated town.
Okay.
We're part of unincorporated Whatcom County, so consequently, we're governed by the county government. And the chamber has served as a buffer between the members and the businesses of Birch Bay and the county government. So we juggle those duties as well.
Okay. I'm curious. So the membership, about how large is the membership for your chamber?
About 150 members.
Okay. Now, God bless them, we need them, the attorneys, the real estate agents, the insurance, bank or credit union. What are some of the more, I don't know, interesting is the right word, but I'll use that, businesses that have set up shop in Birch Bay, they're members, but they're active in the community really to kind of deliver on that experience that people expect?
Yeah, so I'd be remiss if I didn't mention right off the bat our local Parks and Recreation District, Blaine Birch Bay Park and Recreation District 2. They are really one of our premier partners, if you will, not only as members but as event partners and getting people to Birch Bay and to join the fun in Birch Bay. That's really the phrase that we have coined here, is to come join the fun in Birch Bay. And so Blaine Birch Bay Park and Recreation, both on a fiscal side and helping us supplement our events, providing activities, and being a true partner with us. They're really kind of our number one partner, if you will. Birch Bay, mentioning that it's a place for fun. We do naturally have a lot of opportunities for eating and drinking and entertainment. We have the world's only 5-star dive bar. This is what they've coined it, the beach in Birch Bay, that has a very fun live music presence and schedule. And they sit right there on the shoreline. It's a great setting. And actually sharing that same building, albeit a different business, completely different business, is an award-winning brewery, Beach Cat Brewing Company. And they've done a really good job in providing a lot of life to this community, not only in their product, but in the activities that they have. Stuff like charcuterie board classes and just little workshop type things. They have a running club. That seems like a little bit of a contradiction, having a running club in a brewery, but I suppose they get out and they run, and then, which I wouldn't know anything about, Howard.
Of course not. I
Believe it or
have
not,
no
I don't
idea what
belong
that
to
is.
running clubs, right? But they get out and they run up and down this beautiful berm pathway that we have along the shoreline, which I can get into more later. And then everybody sits and enjoys a beer in the beautiful sunset in Birch Bay. So Beach Cat Brewing has been a really good and solid member of the community. There's the dog I warned you about.
Okay.
We have an official chamber greeter here.
I love it. I love it.
Hey, and she's very vocal. That's actually a happy bark.
Right.
Along Birch Bay water slides has been an attraction here for quite some time. We have the natural beauty in the shoreline, but we also have a couple of businesses, Birch Bay Water Slides and Station 49, which has Station 49 is kind of a cool Old West themed. It has the little train that goes through. It's very family friendly, but they also have a restaurant there, a smokehouse, and a stage that they provide some entertainment. So
Nice.
for some of the big ones, some of the highlights. I will mention, and this is important too, because they are very important partners of the community, are the oil refineries that
Mhm.
are BP Cherry Point Refinery is literally right next door to us. And then we have a Phillips 66 refinery that's about 15 minutes away as well. So those are big supporters of the community and they're very important to the community.
Okay. I have to share it, and I joke a lot. It's my inside joke. I don't know if my guests appreciate it, but I will always say I'm always looking for my next place to live. So as I was preparing the notes for this episode, I did what I usually do. I went on to one of the real estate sites and typed in Birch Bay, and I found a nice apartment and it said 5 minutes from the BP refinery. I thought, okay, so
Yeah.
that's good to know. That's good to know. Now, I am going to assume, just given your location and the nature of the temperatures up in the Pacific Northwest, would you describe yourself as a four season type of community?
100%. And that's why that's one of the reasons why my wife and I chose to live here because of the four seasons. I grew up in Alaska.
Hmm.
So, we had winter and July, two
Right.
seasons there. And then I moved to the Midwest and you get the extremes there. Everybody says kind of the running joke around here is everybody thinks it rains here. Let them go on believing that.
There you go.
But it is very much a four seasons. Right now, as a matter of fact, we're in the middle of a beautiful spring with everything starting to come into bloom. And temperatures this time of year, we're looking at low to mid 50s for our high temperatures during the day. And we're pretty much out of the time of year where we get some overnight freezing temperatures. Summertime, we're very comfortable in the 70s, bumping into the low 80s. We have had a couple of little heat spells here the last couple of years where we've bumped into the 90s, and we even had triple digits one day, which is extremely rare and extremely miserable. And
I I had a friend, I haven't chatted with her in a little while, lived on a boat down near Seattle, and I remember a couple of years ago when you had that extreme triple digits, and nobody has air conditioning. At least I'm going to make that's what
right.
she said. Okay,
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah, you're going and sitting in your car to get a respite from the heat.
There you go. It's here in Vegas between July and August. So yeah, just it's like I'm on in an oven. I just turn it up to 550 and that's it. That's what
Yeah,
it's like. What are some of the activities, these events that Birch Bay is known for? And by the way, I will say you in my show notes is one of the magic words which I can never get enough of, but I never get a chance to have much of it. But crabbing, we'll talk about that. But what are some of the events that you're all known for, and perhaps some new ones that are going to serve to attract more people into Birch Bay?
sure. So on top of the visitor information center and the chamber duties, we also operate a number of events throughout the year. Coming up in June, it's really kind of our I guess it's both an official and unofficial kickoff to summer because it does happen on the solstice weekend. We have our Kids Kite Festival. Birch Bay, matter of fact, right behind you in the picture is Birch Bay State Park. And that's where we hold our annual kite festival. It's a beautiful state park and it's right along the shoreline. It's great for a kite festival because there's no power lines, which is kind
Yeah.
of important for getting
Oh
kites.
yeah, of course.
We do call it the Kids Kite Festival because we are protected. Also behind you, off in the distance, are the Canadian Gulf Islands. And so we are protected waters, and we sometimes don't get the breeze that people need to get the big stunt kites and everything in the air. But the kids that have the little dollar store kites that we hand out, those do get up in the breeze that we have. And so it's really a kids kite festival that's supplemented with a lot of interactive entertainment and shoreline education as well. That's always a big important thing here in Birch Bay, is protecting our shoreline and making sure people are educated, about the various ways to make sure that that's protected and conserved. But that's June 21st and 22nd. School gets out a little bit late here, later than in some parts of the country. So it's always that first full weekend after school gets out is when we have our Kids Kite Festival. And then in the 4th of July, now this isn't necessarily a chamber event, but I would certainly be remiss if I didn't bring it up. Being in unincorporated Whatcom County sometimes has its challenges, but it has its benefits as well. And that is, we don't have some of the restrictions that municipalities would have, like restrictions on fireworks.
Ah,
So the 4th of July is, and then we have this huge, long, accessible shoreline. So it's a natural place for people to come and shoot off fireworks over the water, over the bay. It is a war zone here on the 4th of July, Howard. Millions of dollars, I'm sure, go up with, and our population, which is normally about 10,000 people, triples or quadruples during the 4th of July.
okay.
So that's always a unique experience. I tell people, if you've never experienced 4th of July in Birch Bay, it's definitely something to put on your bucket list.
Okay.
It's not an organized event. People just show up and do it, and that's
Okay.
part of the fun. And it's all, you'd think with 30 or 40,000 people in the Bay and in this concentrated of an area that it would be, there'd be trouble and it's not. Everybody just comes out and has a good old small town good time on the 4th of
Okay.
July. We organize the event the day after, which is our beach cleanup, which, as you
Yeah.
can imagine, is very important. Last year, we picked up about 5.5 tons of trash
Oh, wow.
our shoreline. So we do the beach cleanup on July 5th. Then at the end of July, we have, this is probably one of our bigger event weekends, really is signature, and it's two events in one. We take advantage of our shoreline on Saturday, July 26th with our sand sculpture competition.
Okay. Wow.
The sand in Birch Bay is very good for building sand sculptures, and it forms very well. So we do that on the 26th, and we supplement that with some live entertainment. But that event itself has been going on for over 4 decades.
Okay.
And then I think we're in our 43rd year this year. And then the day after that, on Sunday, we have our rollback weekend car show. Birch Bay is really known for its nostalgia. At one time, we had an old amusement park here. We have a candy shop right around the corner from us that still stands to this day, the Sea Shop. And they are just your true old fashioned. You can go in there and get ice cream. They make their own candy. It's a big, giant bright yellow building. It's a really cool spot. But that's definitely one of the highlights here in Birch Bay as well. Pardon me. But the nostalgia of that car show, getting 150 classic cars on our beach park, and we have a band that comes in and plays, and it's actually our only event that we sell alcohol at as
Oh,
well.
okay.
We have a beer garden at
Gotcha.
our car show as well. And before I go on with any more of our events, I say all of our events are absolutely free. Now you're going to have to pay for the beer, but we're going to let you in to look at the cars, right?
There you go. That's cool.
So
Okay.
yeah, all of our events are free. We do a national night out where we recognize local law enforcement and first responders. And that's kind of a fun event because it's not just the fire trucks and the fire engines and the police cruisers, but being with our proximity to the coastline, we have police boats that kids can come in and crawl around on. And with our proximity to the refineries, they bring their emergency response teams out as well. So it's some different apparatus than you see at other national night outs from around the country. And then we do a derby day. We have a big duck derby that we do. I call it a hokey little Mayberry type event that something always goes wrong at and people love. And it's a bunch of rubber ducks that we put in the creek out behind us. And it's a good time. The crab derby, and you kind of touched on it earlier, but crab season in Birch Bay is a big deal. With the seagrass beds that we have, it is really the perfect habitat for Dungeness crab. And so around the middle of August, the date kind of shuffles a little bit depending on what the hard shell, soft shell counts are. But usually right around the 15th of August, sport crab season opens and tons of people flock to Birch Bay and Blaine and go out and chase the crab. There are opportunities to do it from the shoreline as well, but generally your best odds are going to be in a boat. But we have a crab derby where people can bring in the crabs that they catch, and we give out prizes for the monster crab and the biggest weight limit and all of that. And we do that in conjunction with the duck derby. This year, we actually have a local partner, Bay Breeze Restaurant,
Mhm.
that's going to be doing a big crab boil as well
Oh,
on
I'll be
that.
there. I'll be there.
Yeah. So you don't have to go through all the one thing about Dungeness crab, is they're wonderful to eat, but they are a lot of work.
Yeah,
So have the Bay Breeze crack your crab for you that day and then take care of all the cooking.
very cool.
I mentioned the berm pathway.
Okay.
That is a pathway right along the shoreline. It serves a couple of purposes. One, recreational. It's provided a nice, very accessible pathway that's a little over 2 miles long, that's right along our shoreline. In the picture that you have right there, you would basically be sitting on the berm. And that's where but it also serves to protect the shoreline from erosion. While we are in protected waters, especially in the wintertime when we get the big king tides and a westerly wind, it'll chew away at the shoreline pretty good. And so that berm also serves to protect the shoreline. But anyway, we do a trick or treat along the berm. So it's a really unique trick or treat event. It's always the Saturday before Halloween, and we'll have anywhere between 30 and 40 area businesses and groups that are set up. And last year, we estimated that we handed out over 75,000 pieces of candy,
Oh,
um,
wow.
trick or treat event. And then New Year's is always a big holiday in Birch Bay. New Year's Eve, several years ago, we started a tradition. It's a Ring of Fire and Hope. And with our bay being a semicircle, what we do is we take traditional road flares. I happen to have one right here,
Ah,
and we hand them out to people. We hand out hundreds of these 20-minute road flares, and then at 7 o'clock sharp, people all strike their road flares, and it creates a really cool visual effect, ring of fire around the bay. It's our shortest event that we have. It's only about 20 minutes because that's about how
right.
long these last.
Oh,
But it's really kind of a nice, relaxing, and we call it the Ring of Fire and Hope so that you can reflect back on the previous year and look forward with hope to the upcoming year. And then New Year's Day, that's always a special day. That's our annual polar bear plunge, where a bunch of crazy people go and jump in the cold water in the bay. It's a spectator sport for me. I'll be forthright on that.
I would be right there next to you. I'd have the cup of coffee in my hand, and that's nice. Okay.
But this year is actually extra special. So this is also a long-standing event in Birch Bay, started over 40 years ago. This year we are going to be attempting to break a world record, Howard, with the Guinness Book of World Records, for the largest polar bear plunge in the world. The current record actually, it's kind of interesting how this happened. When we originally set out on this venture, the world record was 1,799 people set in Poland. It had been a 10-year standing record. Nobody had attempted to break it. Well, it just so happened the year we tried to break it, somebody else tried to break it as well, and they
Yeah.
did in the Czech Republic, most Czech Republic, and 2,461 people is our new mark. We estimate that we have anywhere between 1,500 and 2,000 people that do it every year. So we feel pretty good about our odds.
I love it.
That's going to happen on New Year's Day here in Birch Bay, and the plunge always takes place at 12 noon. And we've got
Excellent.
some fun entertainment and things that will supplement the event well. But the jump into the bay is kind of the highlight of that day.
I love it. I love it. I would love to do right now as well is I'm gonna take us, if you would, just kick the tires a little bit. I'm gonna share my screen with the
Sure.
miracle of technology here, and this way our listeners and folks up on our YouTube channel can get a feel for what to expect when they come visit your website.
Yeah, absolutely. So birchbaychamber.com is our website. We have some membership information. We're always looking for volunteers. We have a lot of different volunteer opportunities. In particular, with that polar bear plunge world record attempt that I was telling you about, we're going to need about 150 people, volunteers that aren't going to be jumping in the bay. So
Okay.
we have plenty of volunteers. We're working on, and I will tell you as you surf through some of this, we are working on we're working on updating our site right now and
Sure.
getting
No,
some of the
no
2026 events in there. But
worries.
there's all the events that we talked about, plenty of volunteer opportunities.
Hmm.
And manpower is always a challenge. And then really for our visitors, the events tab is going to be what you're going to want to go to when navigating to our site. And we have all of our events laid out there
Okay.
with different information. We'll have the schedules updated, so forth and so on. A lot of these are listing our 2025 dates. We're in the process of getting our 2020. That's part of being the small staff, Howard.
I get it. I get it. But hey, I love the fact, well, you've got that one there, January
Yep.
1st, 2026. And
Yep.
every event that you kind of were calling out, Ring of Fire, Trick or Treat, Birch Bay Derby Day. I love the little rubber ducks.
Yes.
Roll back the car weekend. There's the sand sculpture. Let's see if we've got any. Let's see what we got here. Oh,
So yeah,
wow. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what's amazing is like that picture there. We start registration for the sand sculpture competition at about 8 o'clock in the morning. It's all
Hmm.
tide dependent, right? The tide has to
Right.
be out in order for us to have this event.
Right.
So this that rhinoceros there and the judging usually happens obviously right before the tide comes back in at about
Hmm.
noon. So that was built in about probably 3 to 4 hours.
Wow. Very
Yeah.
nice. Oh,
We do have Mother Nature sometimes throws us a curveball, kind of a funny little story a couple of years ago. Our I've got this local tide expert. He knows all the tides, he knows when it's going to come in. Well, we had an unexpected onshore wind that day.
uh,
And I looked out at about 12 and I thought, boy, that tide sure seems to be coming in fast. And then about 15 minutes later, I'm screaming at the judges, get him out there, judge now. And we just barely got the judging in under the wire, but Mother Nature decided that she was going to bring the tide in a little early that day, and it almost messed up our whole event.
she does that. She
Yeah.
does that. Let's kind of navigate over to the visitor info website.
Yeah, so this is
Okay.
birchbaywa.org. And
Okay.
this is a second website that we operate. And this is more on the visitor information side. You
Gotcha.
can get there by going to the chamber website, or you can go directly to this.
Okay.
And this is just a little more comprehensive. It talks more about our events, but Birch Bay as a whole. You're going to
Okay.
find information on the state park there. You're going to find information on places to eat
Hmm.
and the different opportunities that we have to stay. That is something that I do need to bring up is lodging in Birch Bay is a little bit different. You're not going to find a Super 8 or even a Hilton here. We don't have any of those types of traditional lodging options. What we do have is Worldmark has property here and that's what your cursor is over right now is the Worldmark. Technically a hotel, but it's a timeshare
Right.
property. But there are lots of condos and lots of short-term rentals through Airbnb and
Okay.
VRBO,
Th
up
this
around
is
300 of them.
wow. This is the one that interests me is the RV park because I always have I've had a lot of conversations lately, Sasha, with folks that have gone. The kids are out of the house. They've stopped working. We're retiring, and we want to go live in an RV 24 365.
And we see quite a bit of that through here, like I'd mentioned earlier. I would say we do have a couple of great options for camping in Birch Bay, the state park being one of them. We also have a couple of membership camping operations
Okay.
and resorts, Beachside RV Park being one of those. Sun Retreats. It used to be Beechwood Resort, but Sun Retreats is another camping option that we have. Here's what I will tell people. If you plan on camping in Birch Bay, don't expect to pull in on a Wednesday even and think that you're going to get a campsite that night. You do need to reserve those early
Well,
because
that's good to know.
they fill up very fast, especially around our event weekends and during crabbing season.
Okay.
It's darn near impossible unless you've planned ahead to find a place to stay.
Well, that's helpful insight for our listeners and anyone that wants to plan a visit. Now, I started to navigate away. I know you're drinking your cup of coffee there. I'm a big coffee nut myself. I love good food. And I know one of the photos there had your office because it said right next to the candy store. But if you're going to go walk out the door right after this and say, gee, that was a fun experience having being on the podcast, I'm going to go celebrate with a cup of coffee. Where are you going to go?
Well, the two that you have there on your screen are the best options in, well, really the only options in Birch Bay. Although we do have free coffee here at the visitor center. It's not quite to the quality that these two are going to offer. Both Baywood and Rooted by the Bay source their coffee locally. We have some fun coffee roasters in the area, and
Okay.
Woods Coffee is actually Rooted by the Bay and Baywood are actually down in Birch Bay proper itself. Woods Coffee is up by Interstate 5, and
Okay.
it's about a 5 to 6 mile drive from here to the interstate.
Okay.
So,
How
um,
how how about restaurants? Where are you going to go for just get out of the office and go grab a quick lunch?
Depends on what you're looking for. So if you're looking for the quick lunch, Bay Breeze Restaurant is always a great option. Bay Breeze, they just hired a new chef. He had cooked at a five-star restaurant in Chicago or something,
Okay.
decided he didn't like the pace of the metro life, so he moved out here and has fallen in love with Birch Bay. So we really got fortunate to have him.
Okay.
Bob's Burgers and Brew up by the interstate, CJ's Beach House, all great options in Birch Bay. The Beach Bar, that's the world's only five-star dive bar. Yeah, you're going to get your food in a paper boat or a plastic basket, but they
Right.
do really good dive bar food and really good just burgers and fries and American food fare as well.
Okay.
The brewery often has food trucks.
Yeah.
And food trucks are always fun. My favorite is Lumpia Love. It's a Filipino food truck that is just
Okay.
absolutely off the hook good. You went by Sky Sushi there a
Ah.
minute ago. Sky is a fun story. It's actually owned by the same people that run Baywood Coffee,
Okay.
but they are located. It's kind of crazy to say this, but you're going to get some of the best sushi that you ever had out of the back of a convenience store in Birch
I
Bay.
I have. I mean, you're right next to seafood, so I can't imagine you'd have anything but some great
It's
sushi.
for years, the best barbecue that I had in Kansas City was all out of the back of a gas station. It was Joe's Barbecue, and I liken that to Sky Sushi. It's the Pacific Northwest version, if you will.
I love it. I love it. Before we head back, I see you've got your social links up here: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. By the way, Sasha, I think we probably could have had you on the destination series we were running, and then we found you on the chamber series. But we kind of we're crossing both paths here, so this is wonderful because there is that connection between the businesses and the outdoor spaces and the activities and I this is just I've got to get up to this area, no doubt about it. And anywhere else you want to take us before we head back?
Well, you'd mentioned our social media, and I do want to mention that my background is in marketing,
Okay.
and we also have a person on staff, Mary Jane Thompson, who does a great job in running our social media. And actually, our executive director has some background there. Bottom line is we have a very active and robust social media platform,
Hmm.
especially with our Instagram and Facebook probably kept up to date, even more so as our website, as you can see. But yeah, so I would strongly encourage people to follow us on either Instagram, Facebook, or preferably both. That's where the most up-to-date information is generally presented.
Fantastic. Well, I love this, and thank you for taking us on a tour. And by the way, before we head out today, I'm going to ask you for a kind of a nice selection of photos we can use besides the headshot for you, but also some photos of some of the great sites around Birch Bay and some of the activities for our show notes. So those go over very well. Okay, I'm going to head back to just us, and I appreciate again you taking us on a tour there. That's I think that's a lot of fun, just kind of having our guests take us on these tours. As you kind of look back, I mean, you said you've only been out here for just a short while, 5 years or so, and what's been your biggest aha moment since you have been out in Birch Bay with your spouse and getting to start another life, a new life, and make new acquaintances and friends? What's been your biggest aha moment since you've been out there and now a part of the chamber and the visitor center?
Ironically enough, it started on probably one of my worst days I've had in the 5 years, one of the worst mornings that I've had in the 5 years in Birch Bay. It was on an event weekend. It was actually during our sand sculpture competition a couple of years ago. And, this was going wrong. It just as things are sometimes prone to do when you're operating an event. And I was walking around with a little cloud over my head and feeling sorry for myself. And I went and I stood up on the berm pathway, probably about the place that you're sitting right there. And I looked out
Okay.
over the beach and the sand, and there were hundreds of people out there. Kids were screaming and laughing and having a good time. And that's when I'm like, okay, this is really what it's about. And all those worries from this morning and all those issues from this morning just washed away, because I'm like, this is a perfect picture of Birch Bay right here with the sun in the background. And yeah, and that was just really an aha moment, and a how quickly it washed away that cloud over my head made me realize that, okay, yeah, this is a very special spot that we're blessed to call home.
That's fantastic. I love that story, and I appreciate you gifting it to us. And I love where I live, but I just there's something about that small town feel, and just you walk outside the door, take a deep breath, and it's just like you said, the whatever you were worried about, it just kind of whiffs away. So I love that. Any final insight that you'd like to share with our listeners, whether a quote, a book, or just, hey, if you're going to plan a visit up here, do these two or three things. What would be your insight to go you'd like to share with our listeners?
Again, we are very regional here in Birch Bay. Birch Bay itself has a lot to offer. We talked about the crabbing, we talked about the events. One thing I didn't mention that I'd be remiss if I didn't either is clamming.
Mm,
The state park, especially the beach along the state park, and that shoreline is one of the top five clamming beaches in the state of Washington.
oh,
Uh,
wow.
so butter clams, steamer clams, yeah, it's yeah, they're fun to go out and harvest. It reminds me of
Okay.
when I grew up in Alaska.
Oh,
But yeah, really, it's one of those places. Come see us. It does not rain all the time. Actually, we sit in a rain shadow right behind the San Juan Islands.
right.
Well, I can tell you, I lived in Kansas. It's very dry and arid.
Yes.
And where we live now, we only get about 10 or 11 more inches of rain a year than what I got in Kansas. So
Okay.
that kind of gives you an idea of where we're at and what the weather's like. But come
I
see
love
us.
it.
We're all about fun.
I love it. Well, I am definitely going to have to make a journey up to Birch Bay and check it all out, and because it's just, I love that slower pace and just 8 months out of the year. And I lived in downtown Chicago, so I was in the middle of a tourist attraction every day here in Las Vegas every day. But I just love the tranquility and the water and just the fresh air. So you're in a great place, and really appreciate you sharing that with our listeners today.
Absolutely. And I'll share you a little local secret, and that is we have a lot of visitors in the summertime, but my favorite time of the year is right in the middle of the winter time. It's quiet, it's peaceful. You go for a walk on that berm, you're pretty much by yourself. So it's not a bad place to visit in the off season either, and you're going to get a good deal.
Excellent. Now I do have to ask this question. I'm being self-serving here. as I always look for my next place to live. The wireless internet connections are pretty strong up there.
Rock solid.
Excellent, because I can do this work, podcasting, and my coaching from anywhere. So that's why I'm always looking for my next place to live.
The nice thing is, Howard, is we're only 90 miles from Seattle, and actually we're closer to Vancouver, BC. We're only 45 miles from Vancouver, BC. So if you need your amenities, they're certainly within reach.
I love it. I love it. Well, Sacha, thank you again for joining us today. It's been a great to get to know you, learn more about Birch Bay and really, literally everything that it has to offer. And this is a true connection between the work of the Chamber and the Visitor Bureau. And I love that integration with it. And it sounds like a fantastic place. And I hope our listeners, I hope myself, we get a chance to experience. So thank you again.
Come join the fun in Birch Bay. Thank you, Howard.
All right. Listen, stay in the line. We're going to do a quick close and then you and I can have a final chat. Okay. All right, folks. We have just been chatting with Sacha Sanguinetti. He is the event coordinator for the Birch Bay Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Information Center. And I'm telling you, after seeing some of the photos and just kind of hearing the stories of these events that Birch Bay host annually and some of the new events that are going to be taking place, I can't think of a more wonderful place to come and pay a visit. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode, learn a little bit more about the work of the Chamber and also the Visitor Information Center. And as Sacha had said, do go out to their website, birchbaychamber.com. We'll also have a link to the visitor website as well as to their social sites, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. As for us, you'll be able to find this episode on our website, outdooradventureseries.com. We are also on Facebook and LinkedIn on our Outdoor Adventure Series pages. The whole episode, which includes the video, will be up on our YouTube channel. And of course, you can listen to this episode wherever you get your podcast from. So, hey, come on up here. You've got a lot of beautiful shoreline and walking along the berm. And hey, listen to the couple podcast episodes, including this one. Okay, folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there, have a phenomenal day. And we look forward to having you join us on a future episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast. Take care now.